Welcome back for part 2 of 2D shapes using the formulas. Same materials, colored pencils, calculator. You're going to want your formula sheet here ready to go. And we are going to be working on numbers 9 through 16. Again, feel free to skip through the video if you feel comfortable using the formulas and how to identify base and height. You can go ahead and skip and just check your answers as you're doing the problems. Okay? All right, so looking here, number 9, we have a parallelogram. Parallelogram. Okay, my base I was using green. Remember base and height from the previous, they're the lines that form that 90-degree angle. So I see that little box there that tells me it's my 90-degree angle. So there are my base and my height. Okay, so my base is 2.5 meters. My height is 1.8 meters. That's going to help me with my area. But for my perimeter, I need to remember that I'm going to use a different color here. This side length is the same as this side length. So that means that this is a 2 over here. And this base is the same as this base. So this is 2.5 up here. Okay, so my perimeter is going to be to add up all 4 sides. So I have 2 plus 2.5 plus 2 plus 2.5. Perimeter equals, so 2.5 plus 2.5 is 5, 2 plus 2 is 4, so that is 9. Don't forget your units, 9 meters. Area of a parallelogram is the exact same as a rectangle and a square. It's base times height. But remember that base and the height are the ones that form the 90-degree angle, not the slanted line. So always look for the 2 lines that come together to form the 90, and those are the numbers that you multiply. So we're going to have 2.5 times 1.8. Okay? Get your calculator. Go ahead and do 2.5 times 1.8. And you get area equals 4.5. So 4.5 meters squared. Go ahead and pause the video and try number 10. Okay. How'd you do? Check your units. Do you have the correct units labeled? Check, do you have work shown? Okay. Again, remember, perimeter's all the way around. Label those missing sides. Color code and create that visual. Base and height are always that 90-degree angle. So by writing it out, it helps you to fill in your numbers when you use your formula. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and move on to number 11. All right, number 11. What shape do you think we have here? Well, I noticed that these 2 side lengths look parallel to each other. They're not congruent, but they're parallel. But the other sides are not. In a parallelogram, both sides were parallel, and they were the same distance, the same length. Same thing for a rectangle, same thing for a square. Okay? And since this shape only has one set of parallel lines, it is a trapezoid. Okay? So these 2 parallel lines are my bases. Because remember, in the video from the notes here, right, the bases run parallel to each other. They're lines that will never cross. Okay? They're also the ones, how can you tell that they are the bases? They'll have a vertical line, or in this case a horizontal line, but that makes that 90-degree angle. Okay, so that tells you that those are the bases, and that's the height, actually, of the trapezoid. So in this case, I should actually have base 1, and I need another base, base 2. So base 1 and base 2. All right, so base 1, I'm going to say is 15. It could be the 7, doesn't matter. Either of these are the bases. And base 2 is 7. My height, again, notice it forms the 90 degrees. It's the line that connects the 2 bases but forms that 90-degree angle. So my height is also 15 meters. All right, to find my perimeter, add up all the sides. The outside lengths are 15 plus 15 plus 7 plus 17. So I have 15 plus 15 is 30. 7 and 17 is 24. So that's 54 meters. Okay? Now for my area, I have to go to my formula sheet. Remember, we talked about how you have to add the bases together first, then multiply them by the height, and then divide it in half. Okay, so I kind of ran out of room by writing this base here, so I'm going to just write it off here. Area equals 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times height. Always start with your formula. Okay, area equals 1/2. Base 1 was 15. The other one was 7. The height was 15. So I just substituted. Now I'm going to simplify. Again, I save my fraction for the very end. So I get 22 times 15 times 1/2. Now your choice on how you want to do it. You can do 22 times 15. You can do half times 22. Completely up to you. Like I said, I like to save my fractions for the end. So I'm going to do 1/2 times 330. Right? And half of 330 is 165. So 165 meters squared. Right? So pay attention again. We're still looking, even though the figures turn and this is, that doesn't make sense like visually that it's my height, I can, if I'm laying on the ground, my height is still the same. Okay? It's not the distance from the floor. It's from the bottom of the figure to the top. So that's why this is the height. All right, go ahead and pause the video and try number 12. Press play when you're ready to check your answer. All right, let's see how you did. Trapezoid. Remember, the perimeter, a trapezoid has 4 sides. Only add the outside numbers. 4 should not be included when you're adding. Now this one didn't have units. When something doesn't have units, simply write the word units. That way you do have a label. There's my formula. For the baseline, instead of writing 2 separate lines, I just put the 6 and the 8 on the same line. So this was base 1 and this was base 2, or vice versa. All right, once you're done looking at that problem, again, if you need more time, go ahead and pause and take a look at your work and compare. Otherwise, let's go ahead and continue to number 13. Here we can see that we have a circle. Okay? And instead of base and height, we're going to be talking about radius and diameter. Remember from the formula sheet here that the diameter is the distance across. We want to go ahead and add that diameter is equal to 2 times the radius. Okay? And the radius, so we can think backwards too, is equal to 1/2 times the diameter. So you might want to add that into your notes. Right? So the radius is from the center of the circle to the edge, and the diameter runs through the center but goes from all the way from end to end of the circle. And it's important to know the differences between those two parts of the circle. So let's take a look at the circle and what information I've been given. I've been given from one end of the circle to the other, so that's my diameter. It's 10.4 inches. Well, if I know my diameter, I know that halfway across, which is right here, from the center to the edge is my radius. So I can take 10.4 and divide it by 2 to get my radius, which is 5.2 inches. Right? So to find my circumference, you've got 2 choices. You can use the 2 pi r formula, which is the most popular one, or, well, 2 times the radius is the same as diameter. So you could do it that way as well. I'm going to use 2 pi r, and for our sake, we're going to always round to 3.14. We're going to use 3.14 for pi. So my circumference is equal to 2 times 3.14, and my radius was 5.2. Make sure that you're filling in the correct numbers. So go ahead and do that in your calculator. When I multiply those 3 numbers together, I get 32 and 656 thousandths, or 32.656. That is my circumference. That's the same as saying perimeter of a shape, except in circles we call it the circumference. So notice again, my units are just inches. Now we're going to go ahead and do the area. Area equals pi, which is 3.14, times the radius squared, which means you need to multiply it by itself. So area equals 3.14. Start with your substitution. Do not do any math until you've plugged in your numbers. This is an important step, and it communicates to me or your, whoever your teacher is, that you knew which numbers to be using. Notice I didn't plug in the 10.4. I had to plug in the radius. Area equals, I'm going to go ahead and show my math for what is 5.2 squared, and that is 27 4/100. Again, I just like to communicate very clearly where all my math is coming from. Now I can take that number and multiply it by 3.14. It does not tell me where to round, so I'm going to leave all of the digits in my final answer. So I'm going to have 84.9056 inches squared. All right, now it's your turn. Go ahead and complete number 14. Okay, go ahead and take a look at your work. Check your units. Check how you showed your work. And let's go ahead and, if you need more time, pause the video and take a look. Otherwise, let's go ahead and go to number 15. All right, in this case, we do not have a picture, but we have information. A circle has a circumference of 9.42 centimeters. Find the radius, diameter, and area of the circle. All right, use 3.14 for pi. All right, so we know the circumference is 9.42 centimeters. We're like, wow, how am I going to find all that missing information? Let's start with a formula. Circumference equals 2 pi r. Well, I know the circumference, so I'm going to replace the c with 9.42. 2 is 2. Pi, it said to use 3.14, but I don't know my radius. So I have one unknown, so I can solve an equation now. So 9.42 equals 6.28 times r. Well, the opposite of multiplying is dividing, so I'm going to divide both sides by 6.28. So 9 42/100 divided by 6 28/100 is 1.5. So my radius is 1.5 centimeters, or 1.5 centimeters. Well, if my radius is 1.5, I know that my diameter is 2 times that, which means it's 3 centimeters. So now that I have my radius, let's see, do we have enough information to find area? Well, area equals pi, which is 3.14, and it's my radius squared. Well, because I knew the circumference, I was able to find the radius. So now that I have my radius, I can actually go ahead and find my area. So 3.14, and I have to square 1.5, which means 1.5 times 1.5, which is 2.25. And now I'm going to go ahead and multiply that by my estimation for pi, and I get 7.065. And it doesn't tell me to round, so I'm going to leave it exactly how it is and just add my units, centimeters squared. Okay, your turn to try number 16 to wrap it up. All right, guys, that is it for this video. Go ahead and pause and double check your work. Always check, do you have the correct units there? Do you have the correct showing of work, starting with the formula, showing substitution, and showing your step-by-step math? Hopefully that helps, and now you guys can go ahead and continue on with your IXL practice. When you feel you've gotten in good practice, don't forget to do the graded quick checks and record your score.